Welcome to the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. I'm Larry Wagner, and I've spent 30 years working with seniors, where I was a certified senior advisor, and the last 15 years in the home buying industry as a certified senior transition specialist, where I specialize in dealing with seniors going through a transition in their lives. This podcast is for seniors, those with seniors they love, and people who work in the senior community. In each episode, we bring on a guest who works to improve the lives of seniors. This podcast is your key to unlocking senior resources. Hello, today we're here with Anne Recht, a senior placement advisor from Care Connect Solutions. Welcome, Anne. How are you today?
I'm great, Larry. Thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So the term I used was a senior placement advisor. We'll get exactly into what that is, but what brought you to become a senior placement advisor?
Long story, but I'll make it short.
Okay.
And first of all, thank you for having me today.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it. I had a company, AMR Care Group, which I founded and was CEO for 16 years. It was care management and companion services. Mm-hmm. So we helped seniors and their families at whatever place they were at, whether it's keeping them at home or seeing if they needed another place. Mainly keeping them at home, though. Mm-hmm. Putting in home care if that's what they needed, renovating a home, taking them to a senior placement, taking them to medical, their doctors. So we were very comprehensive.
Right.
And I sold that company in 2000 and worked for them a little bit more, the company that bought AMR Care Group. And then I left them a few years ago and thought about what I can do. I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and I felt I can still help people and wanted to do that.
Right.
So I decided to be a placement advisor, helping people go into assisted livings or independent livings when they're ready to do that. In addition, I've taken some of that care management piece of assessment and care plans, which is my specialty, of really doing a deep dive into where people are at from medical, social, medication management, seeing doctors, support system, financial, the whole gamut, and helping people, giving them a map, so to speak, of where to go to meet the needs that they have and to improve their quality of life. Mm-hmm. That could be, again, staying at home if that's the best and if that's what the family and person wants, or going on to some kind of facility, again, that meets their needs.
How often, when you say if that's what the person or family or senior want, how often does a senior not want to stay home? I assume typically they want to stay home. It's the kids that convince them otherwise.
That's correct. Usually, there's always outliers, but you're right. Most people want to stay home,
right?
And I agree with that until it's not safe. Right. It could be a resources issue. Mm-hmm. It could be no support in the community for them. Yeah. They can hire a geriatric care manager, again, if there's resources and they want to do that. Some people can't tolerate home care, and that's what they need. So it depends on the situation, but it does take some convincing. Yes. I have a situation now where the person actually lives in the city, and she has a sister across the street. She's a single woman, and she has a lot of issues and really cannot continue to stay in the apartment. She has 3 nieces that are very supportive of her, probably working with her as good as her own if she had daughters. Right. And they're trying to convince her that this is the best thing. It's a Medicaid situation. So, she can have Medicaid aids at home, but again, it's just not going to be sustainable.
And Medicaid aids at home, there's a limited number of hours you're going to get through Medicaid.
And New York is one of the best. That's correct. And New York is one of the best states.
That's sad, from what I hear. If that's one of the best, and I hear the stories.
It is. In Florida, you really can't get home care to the extent we have it here. Right. And people are constantly bringing up their parents or grandparents up back to New York because of the Medicaid situation. However, as we read in the papers often, and especially budget time in New York, Medicaid is being squeezed out, and on a national basis. Medicaid is a state-federal program, and federal are not too keen on it these days, and we're going to see more changes.
It's interesting you say Florida versus New York as an example. My granddaughter is on Medicaid. She has some serious health issues from birth. And, matter of fact, we're going out to a conference. She has Cri-du-Chat. It's a very rare DNA disorder. And we're going to a conference next month. And we had met somebody there the first year, this is our third year going, who was from Florida. She gets 30 minutes a week of coaching. The mother, not the child. So she can work with the child. My granddaughter gets 9 hours paid through Medicaid. That's the difference. 30 minutes for the mother versus 9 hours of actual therapy a week.
Right.
She through insurance, they get too much. Gets 11 hours a week, but 9 hours through Medicaid. That's the difference from state to state.
Oh, yeah.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So that's interesting you say that. We're a good state. And one of my earlier podcasts, someone needed basically 24-hour care, and they were given 7 hours a day, 10 days a week. 10 days a week. That's pretty good. 7 days a week. And the person sitting here was saying they were amazed. It was the most they've ever seen, that level of care. You don't normally see that. So, and to me, that's not very much care. If a person needs 24-hour care, you need 24-hour care.
It's changed tremendously.
Right.
I mean, I've been doing this 25 years, working with seniors.
Yeah.
And back in the day, we could get the 24/7 through Medicaid. It was difficult, but it's possible.
Right.
Today, not so much, and it is sad. And the pendulum swings every 5-10 years, but it's swung now to where people. It seems that the government is pushing people to go into nursing homes, because you can get obviously 24/7 coverage through Medicaid.
Right. Well, for 24/7 coverage, I can see it from a cost perspective. It makes sense. But some people really don't need a 24/7. So if somebody needs a half a day worth of care, needs the daytime care, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're not going to get the 12 hours worth of care. It's just not going to happen. Is that a fair comment?
More or less. Again, with some pushing, it can. However, if you need that daycare, maybe you can go to a daycare center.
Well, that's true too.
So there's a bunch of options out there.
Another comment I wanted to make, you mentioned about that the parents, the seniors typically don't want to go, which I agree. Been there, done that myself with my folks. And there's medical reasons and so on, but there's also social reasons. That's why I try to convince my parents. Going there, you will have a whole new cache of people to engage with versus staying home alone.
Absolutely.
My parents were together, but it was just the two of them at that point.
Right. Staying home is better because people are more comfortable, and it's just, to disrupt someone, especially somebody with dementia, sometimes you have to do it and it's necessary. And you're right. Being in an assisted living or an independent living, there's people around, there's activities all over. But if you're home, it could be replicated.
Right.
It's more difficult.
Yes.
It's definitely doable, but again, takes a lot more effort and resources.
Right.
There's day centers, there's aides that can take people to museums or parks or, I was just in Heckscher Park the other day when the sun was out.
Right.
And I saw an aide with a badge and she's pushing someone in a wheelchair.
Right.
So it is, that can be done, but the social part is a little bit better in an assisted living, and that they have good meals, and even I have a client who didn't want to go, and she had to go, and she's in her room most of the time, but she has to go to meals, so at least she's getting some socialization. And it takes time. It takes time to acclimate in these places, but once you do, and all the assisted livings bend over backwards to have people acclimate, and they understand the resistance and they understand the time it takes to do that.
But it actually hurt 100%. But makes it difficult to get. And someone who actually does what you do told me this, and I never thought about it. He says your 80, 85, 90-year-old parent may have put their parent in a nursing home. And there weren't assisted living facilities and independent living facilities back then. And they're equating today's facilities, no matter what level of care, with a nursing home from decades before. And it's even a nursing home today is not like a nursing home a decade ago, a generation ago. And there were steps before nursing, whether it's independent or assisted living. So trying to convince them to go when that's what's in their brain, the best thing you can do is try to at least say, let's visit one. And then so they realize it's not what's the vision they have.
Right.
Because I got to tell you, I've been to many of them. I haven't been to one that isn't nice to unbelievably nice. I'm not saying everyone's beautiful, but the ones I've been to have been really nice. And it's so different.
It is different. They are nicer. Yeah. They're private pay. Correct. So, and most people in nursing homes, and nursing homes is different. They're totally different. It's Correct. Medical. You need medical needs to get Correct. Into a nursing Correct. Home. You can have medical needs in assisted living.
Yes.
They've gone into enhanced, probably about 10 years ago. Used to be where you couldn't have a wheelchair. Now you can. Right. They've gone to that higher level, all in the name of aging in place. Mm-hmm. Where you don't have to keep moving. Now we need a nursing home now, I've had people in assisted livings practically on feeding tubes.
My mother was in independent living and she had Lewy body dementia. Mm-hmm. She was able to eat if somebody fed her, but she had 24-hour aids. My father had passed. She had a 2-bedroom unit and we had an aide live in the other unit, the other bedroom, and they let her stay. Right. But out of respect, we didn't have her go out because she was not what you want to see when you're in independent living. You want to see, I use the word vibrant. Right. I'm using air quotes for those who aren't watching. Vibrant people. Some really are, some less so. But they're functional people, active to some degree and so on, engaging in conversation. She was able to do none of those things. And so out of respect for the rest of the residents, we just kept her in her apartment with her aide. And we were very pleased that they didn't make us remove her and cause some more stress in her life. Right. So,
but with respect, as you said, to the ages and that they're not nursing homes, if you look, they have cycles. When they first came about, and people really don't go in because, as we said before, people don't want to really. They'd rather stay home. Yep. And if they can, great. So they're not really going to these places until they're, I think, statistically around early 80s. Okay. Right? Maybe late 70s, but really it's early 80s. Mm-hmm. So, and, today's day, you can really be active at that age. Yes. And again, the other part is that they're allowed to have wheelchairs. Yes. So you are looking sometimes at places where it's an older population, as we talked before, the old, and well into the 80s. I visit these places, they're telling me, see that lady, she's 103. Yes. As we know, people reaching 100 and more is not as uncommon as it was 10 years ago.
Absolutely not.
Right? So you have this perception as people go in. I just worked with a family. She's 73, looks 63. Right. She does have dementia. Right. So she couldn't stay at home in her apartment in the city. Right. Brought her to Long Island because the brother lives close and he's the caregiver. And there were a few people her age, not a lot. And, she walked into the place and not a happy camper, right? Yeah. And until you connect them with, but it's few and far between of that. I mean, that's on the younger side, obviously. Yes. So young looking, young acting, and, but again, the people that work in the assisted livings understand this and they try to connect. And it's taken her months to acclimate. She was pissed, and again, with that dementia, not understanding, what's going on.
Another level of complexity for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, my folks went to independent living, and I remember my father, but I spoke to the person she's on the show, who did the intake and so on. And he said, I'm not signing a lease. I'm not signing. It took me a year to get him to actually go with both my folks. I'm not signing a lease. He said, there's no lease here. You can go anytime you want to go, but I'm not signing a lease. No matter what but I'm not signing. I'm telling you, no worries. So another month goes by. I'm willing to stay another month, but I'm not signing a lease. She goes, Dave, there's no lease. There's no lease. Right. Like he just couldn't believe this. I'm a real estate guy. Right. You come live in my homes, you sign a lease. So he couldn't understand that no lease concept.
You're not locked in. And the other thing you can do is, I'm pretty sure all of them, you can stay a few months, do a trial, if you will.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. And after 3 months, by the way, he said, "Okay, I'm willing to sign a lease." And she said, "There's have no lease.
Still no lease.
Still no lease. We haven't changed our policy." Right. But he goes, "I like it." And then he acclimated, like you said. But it took him a while. I think he liked it at the beginning, but I don't think he wanted to like it.
Right.
I think that was the difference. And there was nothing not to like.
He didn't want to admit that he wasn't correct.
He didn't want to admit it wasn't correct, but also that it's better than the home he lived in for 65 years. It was 62 years when they moved out. And that was a big deal. And so, yeah, and I'm sure he's not alone. But these seniors don't want to change. That's right. I'm not saying I'm
people don't want to change.
I said, I'm not that different either. I guess some people. So, but with that said, question is, in the business, dealing with, well, I'm going to change my question. How often are you dealing with just the seniors versus the seniors and advocates, family, or whatever those other people may be?
Not often at all.
Not often at all. I would figure not.
Yeah.
I would figure not. They're not going to call you because they want to stay where they are and they do what they do.
And that is throughout my career.
Yeah.
No matter what I have done, helping people, helping seniors and families, families are always involved.
Right. We deal with my in-laws right now. My wife and I dealt with my parents when they needed assistance. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do anyway.
That's right. Yeah. I had a case where a gentleman ended up in the hospital in a nursing home rehab, and he was recently widowed, no children, brother out of state, and I was referred by an attorney. Found him in assisted living. His house was unlivable. Yeah. Just totally unlivable.
But he was living it anyway.
He was I was just going to say, it's just amazing how people live.
The homes we buy, you can't believe someone lived in it.
I've had to wear hazmat suits in places.
Yeah.
I
keep a carbon filter mask in my car.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but he had to go sooner than later. And the idea is to get him near his brother at some point, where he lives. But it's, what happens. So he had no choice. Right. Of which there's a lot. So there's a senior I dealt with, but really family, kind of pushing that. Right. There's gotta be some support. And you're right. Not everybody has that. Right. Unfortunately.
Very unfortunate. You need an advocate.
Hi, I'm Larry. And I'm Ben. We're the father and son team of Leave the Key Homebuyers, and we want to buy your house.
We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you were going through.
So if you're considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out and see how we can help.
Do you have an outdated home?
No need to update anything.
Have a home that needs repairs?
Don't bother with repairs.
Don't want to take everything with you?
Leave whatever you want behind.
Dreading the headaches that come with agents?
Sell your home without paying a commission.
Dreading prying neighbors attending open houses and passing judgment on your home?
No need for public showings.
When you sell to us, you'll have all the certainty of closing on your timeline, not someone else's, and there's absolutely no pressure.
Visit leavethekey.com or call us today for a no-obligation offer at 631-388-7771 if you want to sell your home today.
I've told the story before real quickly. When I was a financial advisor, one of my clients was dealing with his uncle, because his uncle had no children. So he was his uncle's advocate. He was in a facility. And after like 3 or 4 years, he ran out of money and he went on Medicaid. And the facility wanted to move him to a different wing. That other wing was nowhere near as nice the wing he was staying in.
It's typical.
And he fought and got his uncle, to stay in the same room he had been staying before, even with a Medicaid reimbursement. But if it weren't for this nephew, who was a tough guy who served under General Patton, he was a tough dude. He was just like Patton. Anyway, if it weren't for him, Dad would have been pushed aside and treated like everybody else and not like he had been treated before. So you need it. You need it to get to the right place. And it's not over when you're there. I mean, you need it for
That's right.
You need it when you're there. My mother-in-law, we're trying to get her on long-term care insurance. She's on a claim. It must have been 25 phone calls so far.
with my wife making about 25.
Just 25.
Just what we haven't gotten it yet.
I said just 25. There's going to be a lot more.
There's going to be a lot more. So I sold the policy. I feel terrible. But anyway, but it'll pay in the end. Just thank God we have the money to lay out. But it's been weeks and weeks and weeks. But it turned out it wasn't even it was the rehab center's fault. They weren't responding to the insurance company. So that I really can't blame the insurance company this time.
Right.
Not yet. We'll wait. They'll get
that.
They'll get blamed later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But so question for you, what does the process look like when somebody calls you? I call you on behalf of my parents because my parents aren't going to call you. We set up a visit probably at their home.
Correct.
You want to see how they live and so on. How does that, and you're going to meet with my folks and with me in this case, and how would that go?
So yes, I would definitely have to see the person or the couple, whoever it is.
Natural habitat.
And then natural habitat, right? And if the family is there, I will ask at some point family to step aside and go in another room or outside, and I meet with them myself. Mm-hmm. And it's like a mini assessment. Right. We have to talk finances. We have to talk, what their social life is like, who they are, what they like to do. Right. And I get all the information and, making sure, and back to this lady with no children who have the nieces, I said, come assessment time, because every facility does their own assessment, she's got to say she wants to go.
Oh, right.
You cannot force anyone to do this. Right. Unless if you have a guardianship, but that's a whole different can of worms. So, they have to want to, on some level, do this. If it takes some convincing down the road, fine. If it takes, let's see a few places. Right. And I would narrow down, a few places. Right. I look at location, finances, support. Right. Who's around. We don't want, like people, I heard there's a great not nursing home, assisted living, it's about an hour from here. I said, forget it. Right. You're not going to go. Yeah. We get snow. Right. It might be summertime we're talking, there's harsh winters and, you think you're going to go, it's not going to happen. I like to do 20 minutes. Obviously if location doesn't matter, then, it's financial. And then of course, where they fit in, because every assisted living is different. Correct. Even the chains, they're going to have a different vibe, different people. Right. As a matter of fact, the younger person I was talking about before, the brother who lived on one end of the island, again, wanted it. I said, and no, I want to go there. I heard it's great. Okay, we'll go. And we went. Right. And after seeing 4 or 5 places, he ended up 20 minutes from it, which is great, which is fine. Right. And when she was having a difficult time, he said, oh, maybe I should. I said, do not move her. Right. Let her be, let her acclimate. Right. It's going to be, you're going to just start the process over in another place. Right. And it's going to take you 45 minutes to get there with no snow.
Correct. I never moved more than 10 minutes from where I was born, where I was raised. So when I looked for places for my folks, I made sure they were 10 minutes away. Yeah. So that's the time I want to be able to get there. Just like I was going to their home in Syosset, I want to get to their new home, whether it's Melville, Plainview, it didn't matter, things like that. And my mother's objection was we chose a place in Melville, which was in Suffolk County versus Nassau County. It was the other end of the world. It was 10 minutes from their house. When I drove them there for the first time, I says, why are you getting off the expressway? I said, we're here. What are we here? It's Melville. It's the other end of the world.
They're thinking Suffolk's way out.
Suffolk's way out. It literally was 10 minutes.
There are so many of these places, Larry, that it's easy to do.
There are so many of these places. You are correct. And keep that thought for a moment, because I want to finish up with the family situation. Because remember, I'm going to forget, so many places. So you said you asked the let's say the kids, you asked me to step out and you talk to my folks. What are you discussing with them when I'm stepping out?
I'm not telling you that.
You're not telling me that. They will know. They're gone.
I think people speak differently. Okay. I know people speak differently when they have family.
Okay.
And it's not they're not going to be talking bad necessarily.
Oh, no.
I want to make sure they're comfortable with me. Yeah. And that's why the family is there usually, sometimes not. Right. I've been doing this a long time. Right. I think one of my better attributes is relating to people, no matter their ages.
Right.
And, I can do that.
Right.
If the family's there, great. And it depends on them too. If they're too nervous, if they think, the woman in the white coat is coming.
That's right.
But I think if they're at ease, they'll just talk to me. And if it is, I can't believe my son is trying to do this to me, that kind of thing. Obviously, look, I'm a social worker. I'm not a therapist, but I think I've done this enough times that I know the questions to ask and to listen to them.
Right.
And I think people want to be heard.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. They don't want the kids making the decisions for them.
Correct.
They don't want the kids chiming in, but they're the decision makers.
And you can be the best son and want the best for them. And I believe that. And anybody who calls me, that's true.
Right.
But they think otherwise, and they're trying to move us, and they're trying to, and I listen and we talk. We talk, what is an assist? They don't know what it is.
Correct.
Independent living, assisted living, they don't know. So that's why seeing it is so obviously they're going to see it.
Right.
Even
before they say, yes, I'm going to move to one. Even see it if you're what's the word? Resistant. Mm-hmm. Go see one. You may change. Your resistance will go down.
It's education.
Without it, it's education.
And even if I'm called in for an assessment and care plan, just to see what to do, we run through everything. Well, this is what it means to stay home. Mm-hmm. Intrusion-wise, if you will, with home care, 12 hours a day. Right. Yes, you need a ramp, and all these changes happening. Yep. And this is the cost for that.
Yep.
Maybe insurance covers XYZ. Insurance doesn't cover ABC. And then here's the assisted living part of it. Mm-hmm. And this is what you get for that amount per month.
Yep.
And the benefits of socialization, as we talked about.
Yes. So I know I sold a good amount of long-term care insurance. It's almost unsaleable today. It's gotten so expensive. They come with these combination policies, life insurance, long-term care insurance. I describe them as the Swiss Army knife of insurance policies. Swiss Army knives are not good at anything, but they do many things. That's how I look at those policies. Mm-hmm. And long-term insurance policies are great. They're just unaffordable. I own it. My premiums doubled in the last number of years, as is my wife's. And I'm going to have a call one of my clients, even though I'm no longer in the business. My clients still call me. This premium just went up, and the new people can't buy. But so my question is, how often? And the other comment is long-term care insurance doesn't cover independent or assisted living.
It does cover assisted living. It depends on the policy.
Why you're there. It depends. Some policies cover assisted, some don't cover assisted. Or I know it depends why you're there. If you need care, it's another story. But, the 2 out of 5 or 2 out of 6, I think now, ADLs. It used to be 2 out of 5. So, but if you're not getting any, I guess, do they cover if you can't do 2 out of, this is important actually, the 2 out of 6 actually, there's ADLs. I don't remember what they all were. I remember it was bathing, toileting,
dressing, walking,
transfer, I remember, to a chair, and walking is one of them. And that would be 6. So if you can't do 2 out of those 6 and you go to independent living, will they cover the whole nut depending on the policy, or only for a certain amount of time to take care of the baby in the morning?
I don't think they cover independent.
I don't think I meant assisted living.
Assisted.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, say the question again.
If they cover if they won't cover assisted living, and you're going there because you can't do 2 out of 6 ADLs, and one of them is dressing and showering, bathing. So will they just cover the time it takes to have an aide take care of you for those?
No.
They'll cover the whole.
Yeah, they cover the whole nut.
Oh, they will. Yeah. Okay. It's too far back for me. I don't remember.
But they're time limited, right? It's usually 3 years. And every policy is different.
Right.
That's why when people, send me the policy and I'll go through it with you and we'll see what we're talking about.
I bought a lifetime with a compound inflation rider. I was 45 when I bought it. It was very affordable.
Right.
But when you're 70, you're buying it. And today it's unaffordable.
And sometimes you can't get it if you have certain medical situation.
Yeah, we got it for my mother-in-law. We couldn't get it for my father-in-law at the time.
Right.
So you do what you got to do.
Yep.
But right now we're trying to get a claim, as I said, on for her. But with that said, so we discussed the family. But you said something I want to get back to, and I am remembering. There are many of them.
Yes.
So there are many of them. Do you tend to use the same ones over again, or like they're all available to you technically? But do you find you've rolled out a good number that you wouldn't ever put anyone in, and you tend to stay with the same 30, 40, or?
I look at them like, and I don't do nursing home placement. As a care manager, I did.
Right.
And I always said, I'll tell you where not to go.
Okay.
And it's the same thing, not as much on assisted living.
Right.
But, I try to use all of them, as many as I can, depending on. And of course, you tend to go back, like you said, 30, 40, 50 of them because you have good experiences.
Correct.
Right? Like anything else we do.
Yeah.
I go to, the two, funeral directors that I know.
Right. Yeah.
There's a million of, there's a lot of everything, which is good. I mean, the people have choices and they should, especially Long Island. I think we have a tremendous resources and people like you and I who want to help people.
Right.
And, and it's, and we work with each other for referrals and, and we just know what's out there.
Yeah. We were talking about that before. The podcast is called Unlocking Senior Resources for a reason. I bring people like you on every week.
Right.
And there's so much to know. I always say the older you get, the less capable you become, right? Life's kind of this, you know? And, at whatever age this is, I don't know. But when you're 80, it's not here anymore, typically. And it gets harder. When you need to be here is when you're more likely to be here. And that's the problem. And that's why you need your kids who are still here. And so don't ignore the kids. They're really looking out for you in most cases. Sometimes just want the inheritance. But we'll put that aside.
Right.
So you do try to use, like I have the same mechanic for 33 years. He takes care of me. Why am I looking for another mechanic? You have this number of places that have treated your clients well. Why reinvent the wheel? They're in the right neighborhood, the right price point.
Right.
So question for you speaking of price point, what's the biggest part of the decision-making process as to where to go? You say the price is one of them, location's one of them. You said the third thing, the fit as far
the
as...
fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it sort of a triangle? They're all equally important, or you find one thing's more important than the others?
It really depends on the family.
I mean, if they don't have the money, that becomes the most important.
Right.
Right. That makes sense.
Correct. But again, back to that there's so many choices out there. Yeah. There shouldn't be a problem finding something that fits all three criteria.
Yeah.
That meets all three criteria.
Right. That's interesting. So share a story. You've been doing this a long time, dealing with the family, whatever that would be. A little light, maybe, heartwarming, whatever you want to say. An example of what you experience when you deal with families.
You put me on the spot.
Yeah. 16. How many years are you doing this now?
Well, I've always been placing people as part of what I do.
Right.
Again, we try to keep people at home.
Right.
If that's what they need, we look further.
Right.
So that placement piece has always been, like I said, I've met families and seniors wherever they are, and then improve that, whatever that means.
Right.
Try to think of a story.
That's like telling someone name everything blue.
Yeah.
Right?
You're telling me to name my favorite kid.
Right. That's easy.
For you?
It's easy. No one else will admit is the problem.
Yeah.
My grandparents, I was their favorite grandchild.
Yeah.
I always say that.
Yeah. I'd say this recent one, and I mentioned it before, of this older, she's in her 80s and the sister's in her 90s, and they live across from each other, both single women, and they have these 3 nieces that are really caring.
Right.
And I've been dealing with them for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't necessary. And no, it was 2 years ago. The nieces said, we got to do something. Right. We got to plan. They're getting older. We're it. They don't live in New York.
Right.
They live in 3 different cities.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So it becomes a little complicated. Yeah. However, they're on it.
They all get along?
They all get along. Yes. Yeah. That's
my brother, sister, and I did not agree when I told my parents to move to independent living. It took 6 months to convince my brother and sister.
Yes.
I had no prayer with my parents when 2 or 3 kids weren't on board, but I lived 10 minutes from them. My brother lived in Europe, and my sister in Connecticut. So I saw them multiple times a week.
So those families I can certainly come in and speak with them, but you don't need me because you're disagreeing.
Right. It's 6 months later, they agreed. 6 months later, they agreed.
Yeah. So it's, the nieces call me kind of often. So what happened was again, 2 years, and I visited them every 6 months, give or take. Right. When one of them is in, and Anne, can you meet? And, sure. And then in the meantime, working on this one to get her placed, the other one fell and broke a hip. But this is, and I said to them, things will happen. Yes. I know this by experience. You can't argue with that, but they're resistant. They're typically resistant and appreciative, but resistant. They call me and thank me. This is the clients, but they still are cognitive and want to make their own decisions, etc. It's a typical dance. Mm-hmm. They're going a little out of their minds. They have their families, they have their careers. There's 3 smart professionals, and they're trying to do the best for them. Right. Which is refreshing, because when you get to the niece nephew level, they're kind of looking at the inheritance sometimes. Yeah. They're just not as close, and and you see that with some children also. Yep. So
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. So but it's people are appreciative of the service that I provide, which is nice. And
so what differentiates you? There are many people who do what you do. What makes you different than those other people?
Well, first I'll say I do respect my colleagues. Right. Like I said before, we have a great network here, and I know a lot of them being involved for over 25 years. Mm-hmm. I'm a licensed master social worker. Mm-hmm.
Licensed master? I never heard master.
LMSW.
I never heard that. Okay.
What have you heard?
I heard, I thought it's a social worker, licensed social worker, or
LC.
Is it MSW?
LCSW.
Social work, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I never heard of the licensed master social worker. Yeah. Right. An MSW.
There's an LCSW. That's the counselor.
Okay.
Right. Like I said, I'm not a therapist, but licensed master social worker. So I have that education, and it's ongoing education. Mm-hmm. Keep up with the license. You have to take a lot of classes. Yep. And experience, 25 years helping people and seeing seniors and the families. And like I said, I've learned a lot. I know a lot, and I know how people age, and everyone's unique. And I have the questions to ask to find out about their uniqueness. Right. So that's what I bring.
So many people do not have the social work background. And now your company is the company you started.
Yes.
It's your own company. It's not a franchise.
It's,
Okay. Yeah. So you have no, I don't know, franchises have restrictions or rules, or at least they have territories. You have no territory.
No territory.
Where do you work, in any of the boroughs?
Yes. Queens and Manhattan.
Queens and Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. And you work Nassau, Suffolk.
Yes.
I figured those two.
Yes.
Not Brooklyn, huh?
No.
Too far.
No. Actually, I am doing a case there because that's where they wanted to go. Right. I reached out to some people. It's a Medicaid situation. So we're doing that. Right.
Medicaid is such another level of complication.
It is. And there are assisted livings that take it.
Right.
I've had a few placements recently. Right. I never turn away from that. Right. I actually helped a contemporary of mine when we were raising our kids. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been in touch with her, and she apparently fell on hard times in her 60s, divorced, and another friend, mutual friend, called me and knew that I was doing something with seniors. And I said, yeah, I'll help her out, of course. Mm-hmm. And she was in a rehab, and I took her to the place and went through the whole process, the assessment, and helped. And that was a pro bono, which you have to do some of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It goes around, comes around.
Yeah. And especially somebody I knew back in the day.
Right. It could have been you.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yep.
My daughter has a friend who, maybe she was in college. She was in a car accident, and she's been a quadriplegic, I believe, since then. I mean, and nothing she did. just was in a car accident. And it happens. So
it happens.
You got to appreciate that you're the one able to help and not the one who needs to help.
That's right.
So you just thank God for that. So your social work background is a huge help. And the fact that you have way more experience than most everyone I know in this business, that's also a big help. Therefore, you have that many more contacts, that much more experience, and you know how to deal with people. Also, I find sometimes there's younger people in this business and, 35-year-olds. I don't think they have the life experience that you and I have, if you will. I spent my life dealing with seniors too, but in a different capacity. But even deal as a financial advisor, dealing people. I deal with my clients and sometimes their kids as the clients got older, and you watch the change in them. But what was interesting was my clients were typically my father's age. My father and I were partners, so he was their age and I was the age of the kids. So you brought the two generations of insight into the family,
right,
which is really very helpful. In your case, you've been there, done that for so long. And you've aged through the process yourself, like so have I, and so that goes a long way. You can't beat life experience.
I call myself an aging expert. You could take that however you want.
An aging expert, and that's right. I thought of it one way, and it hit me the other way.
Yep,
it's like those little Escher prints. They like go back and forth.
Right.
You see the lady, see the bird, whatever it is.
Both ways. No, you can't replace experience and maturity.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So if someone's looking for somebody like you, what should they be focusing on when they're choosing someone to sit there and help them find a place to spend the rest of their life?
Well, you should interview a few people that you get referrals from, hopefully, and ask about experience, ask about how many places do you work with? We do have to have contracts with these places.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ask what the important criteria we work with, as discussed, the financial.
Right.
Ask what the process is. I mean, I know some people who do this and they live in a different country and they come back and forth and there's no face-to-face.
Right.
I like face-to-face.
Right.
I think you learn so much from people.
Right.
And there's, you have to build the trust very quickly.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be, like I said, some people are coming out of facilities. They need a place right away. Others were thinking about it. Okay, let's talk about it. Let me educate you.
Right.
Let me help you with the process.
Right.
And they have time for the process, which is the best part.
Right.
The best way to go, that planning. And a lot of people don't get that or don't do that. Because nobody wants to age, nobody wants to get old or face these facts.
Yep. Absolutely, these facts. Yes, these facts.
Now, facts. That's the truth. I should say the truth.
That's right. Yes, you're better off getting older, as I say.
That's
you're
right.
Better off getting older. So that's how they reach out and find the proper person. Basically, interview. When you said something about people like you could travel back and forth, you're getting into this person. They don't know you when the meeting starts at 2:00 in the afternoon. You're sitting in their kitchen. They don't know you at 2:00, but you're walking up the door at 3:00. You have to know them very well, but they've got to know you too, and they've got to trust you too. And doing that, not face to face, not in person, not in their home turf, is a whole different animal. When you deal with people and you're on their territory, the guard's down. When they're in your territory, it's up. If you're doing something via Zoom, it's a whole nother, that intimacy is gone.
Right.
And so absolutely they should be
now,
face-to-face.
Sometimes there's cases where it can't happen. Absolutely. I was dealing with clients who the sister was in Florida. Telephone is, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Right. Everything's not fine. Right. And next thing you know, neighbors saw her walking half a mile away. And she was hospitalized. They get the call, and now I'm going around with them to facilities and talking with them and relying on them to tell me about her.
Right.
And they really didn't see her in a while, and obviously we knew the money part, and made sure the location, and they they were contemporaries of her, so they were looking at it through her eyes, the assisted livings. So you do what you can with what you have. Right,
absolutely. As a senior placement advisor, I know the answer, but who pays your fee?
The facilities.
That's right. I know that, but I want everyone else to hear
yes,
it.
That's important.
So you don't cost anything.
Correct.
And
to the client.
To the client. And you're making the process simpler. You're handling it in a much less emotional, much more intellectual manner. People are not looking at 18 places because you probably pick an average of 3 places maybe.
Average, yep.
Okay. Instead of it's hard if you're starting from scratch. As you said earlier, which I want to get, there are so many.
Yes.
And I said, that's why I asked you, how many do you work with? You know the ones to disregard right off the top. So it saves them the time. And typically when they have to go, sometimes it's sure to get them to go. In my case, getting my parents to go to a second place and a third place was almost as difficult as the first place. The third was surely as difficult as the second, and the first may have been the hardest. But if I went to 5, 6, 7, it would have been such a chore.
It gets confusing.
We did it ourselves for my parents, but for my in-laws, we brought someone just like you in, and without the same background you have. In hindsight, that's interesting. I wouldn't have known. I didn't know that interview or anything of the sort. He was the only one I knew who did it.
Right.
But I didn't know it was a big thing. You learn. That's the problem. The kids don't know, and mom and dad don't know. And if mom and dad did it with their parents, it was a very different experience.
Totally.
So that's the only experience. Either have no experience or have a bad experience.
Right.
So where the kids have no experience. And so they're starting fresh, but work with someone like you who's been doing it for decades and knows exactly what needs to be done, how to do it well, how to do it effectively. And so with that in mind, if there's one takeaway from this conversation, what would that takeaway be for people going through this?
I think what you just talked about, which is it's not a DIY. It's not a do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
There's help out there. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
We're professionals. We give good information.
Right.
And you're busy.
Yeah.
You have your jobs. You have your family. I'm talking about the children.
Yes, I know. I mean, I have my job, and my family too. That's
right.
Story.
Well, you're a son,
and we deal with my in-laws.
Right. Yep. You're a son or son-in-law.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming.
Yes.
And we really take the pain out.
Yeah.
And that's the takeaway, to use a professional.
I'm going to add something to that. You didn't say this, but you're also a mediator, I assume, between the parents and the kids.
Yes.
And I assume that's a big part of the benefit you bring, is getting everybody on one page. And because that's probably the hardest part of what you bring, I'm imagining.
And even what you talked about before of children not being on the same page.
Right. Correct.
I have mediated many of what they have to do, though, before I meet with them, they meet with me, is to agree to listen to me.
Uh-huh. Seems a reasonable request.
Right. Yeah. I mean, otherwise, if they're discounting me, then don't waste your time.
Right.
But yes, I do bring that. And again, listening to people. I want mom home and blah, blah, blah. And, okay, what's happening at home? Let me do an assessment first. Let's see what's going on,
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm all that and more.
And more. So, Anne, how do people get hold of you?
They can email me at amr@agingexpert.net.
Let's amr@agingexpert.net.
Yes.
Okay.
And my telephone number is 917-391-0989.
Very good. And do you have a website you'd like to?
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
I'm keeping it simple. This is my third act.
That's it. And this is just you.
It's me.
So if they call you, there's no employees, no underlings, they get Anne.
Yes.
Okay, from the beginning to the end of the process.
I've been there, done that, Larry, and
yes,
I'm good on my own at this point.
For now. Wonderful. A real pleasure having you. I thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Unlocking Senior Resources podcast by Leave the Key. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast. We specialize in working with seniors who are transitioning out of their homes, and we understand what you are going through. So if you are considering selling your home and would like an alternative to the traditional overwhelming process, reach out to see how we can help. When working with us, you can sell your home in its current condition, there is no need to remove unwanted items, and you control when the house is sold, along with so many other advantages. Visit leavethekey.com or call us at 631-388-7771 to learn more about our senior home buying process.